feel free to ask questions because it is a paid coaching session with one of my regular students, MTA World PC. We are gonna get on with it. Coaching Terran versus Zerg coaching. Diamond 2/3 kind of range, somewhere around there. We're gonna turn off the music and just get my settings set up really quickly, and then we're gonna get my man on the call. Give us a sec. Alright. Hotkeys. We're good. We are good to go. Awesome. Awesome, let's go. Hey.
SCV ready. All right.
Hey, how you doing, man?
Good.
Awesome. Yep. All right. So before we get stuck into TvZ, TVP is still causing you troubles. It's still your weakest. Now we can't expect it to just, evolve overnight. Have you been playing a lot, or have the games been kind of low the last few weeks and so on? Like how much practice you been getting in?
It kind of goes in spurts. I had this huge loss streak. I got up to like high 4,000, like almost 4,100 MMR, and then I got matched against a lot of higher players, so I'm back down to around 38-ish almost. But
that's still awesome. That's good.
Yeah, I actually feel a lot better with TVP than I did. Just kind of I feel comfortable. We talked about adding in Liberator Harass and Control Group, a double drop sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And then just kind of getting a sense for how they respond to Colossus. If I headbutt into that with my initial 5-minute push with 3 racks, so I'm feeling better about it. And my win rate I think has come up.
You were kind of just focusing tightening up the build and stuff, right? Because our last session, there was you were doing it pretty well, right? But the main thing we came to at the end was just kind of tighten up the build and kind of learn that reaction, right?
Yeah, and then also I was doing 0 multitask harass, so I would just let them kind of gain control over everything and then not take advantage of.
We were a bit afraid in the late game, weren't we? Right? With your liberators, you weren't hitting a clear liberator timing, and you were, yeah. That's one of the biggest things, we always need to remind ourselves of as Terran players, especially in TVP, but even in TvZ, is we get so caught up in trying to maintain that pressure. We've got to remember there's power points where we actually really want to commit to a fight, and we don't want to bleed out units before that point, because we just got to remember at its core, Terran is a glass cannon of a race. We need all those pieces working together. We need the upgrades to finish at the right time, and that's when we want to fight, right? And too often we're like, oh, I've got to stop them getting too far ahead though, or that fight's not going to work. And then we start just kind of bleeding our units off in dribs and drabs, or we commit to a fight right before some key upgrades finish, and it just it takes the power out of us. Because as a Terran player, really, yes, there's harassment, there's flexibility, there's mobility. You watch pro gamers, it seems like they're always in their opponent's face. But realistically, that's just building up to these nice points where your army can set up this beautiful, perfect spread and get these right engagements. And that's the same thing which we can fall into, that trap of not thinking that way against Zerg as well. So I guess we'll kind of just keep grinding out that build order in your your TVP. Hopefully you'll get better and more confident with it, especially in the late game. But for now, here in TvZ, it looks like you're doing a very cool Hellbat build.
Yep, I've been doing this for a while. I like the Marauder version with concussive shells.
And, you forgot concussive this game. Oh no! Is it gonna finish?
Yeah, just started it, so
it'll finish just in time, I guess. Then a little bit late, but and you land the Viking as well, right?
I don't always do it. I'm not this game, I don't think.
Yeah, I think it's nice with this attack because it's just about having such a surprising attack. So what's the goal with this attack? It's normally to get in and do devastating damage.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because we kind of pulled back there and we went to the natural and then we went away. So obviously the Roaches is somewhat scary, but at the same time, a couple Marauders, a landed Viking, they can do okay versus those Roaches to some extent, especially if we get on top of them in small numbers. So I feel like we probably want to be pretty decisive and always headbutting towards the natural as fast as possible with this attack. What do you think?
Well, that's when I've lost. It's because they have just enough roaches to shut me down, and you know, well, probably I miss macro along with that as well. So it's, but I think that's where I probably came off a loss, where roach numbers shut down my push. So that's what I'm thinking right now with this game.
Yeah, it's just a shame because it's like, well, if we went straight to the third, we could have done that. Obviously, you're kind of just going, I see roach, I pull back. That's what I can see here. That's like the trigger for you is I see roach, I assume there's enough roach, I pull back. I think with this attack, it's, I mean, 3 marauders with concussive and that many hellbats, they need a butt ton of roaches. I think if you go for this sort of build, this is, you've got nothing at home. Like this build is a huge commitment. You have to go for the throat. And I don't think there should ever be a reason for you to pull back, right? The reason, because what I mean by that is if you were a super high pro gamer, maybe there is a scenario where you see there's already 12 roaches out and you get the hell out of dodge and you just go home, right? But anything short of that, we probably just want to commit. And so I feel like 95% of the time we want to commit. Like this example here, we give another 10, 15 seconds, 9 roaches are out, they collect with the 6 that are already out, we can't do anything, right? But right now, if we thrust into this base, bam, roach is dead, bam, roach is dead, bam, roach is... Like this army right now does nothing against your army. He'll kill like a hellbat or 2 at best. And then he's got roaches popping out, coming in dribs and drabs, a few at a time. Medevac repairing your units, you got the Viking landed, the Liberator that comes in as the follow-up, like, oh, I think you could win the game right here. I think this could be a game-winning or at least a push that kills a lot of drones as well. And I think if you're going to commit this hard to a push, you kind of need to do it, right? I think the more you commit to a push, the more you should err on the side of just headbutt yourself to death on the brick wall. You know how people say, like, it's better to die by over-droning? You'll always hear Zerg players say that. Like some Terrans will be like, well, I'd rather die if they're really macro-focused, being a little bit too greedy, trying to secure that third, you know, it's take the third or die trying, right? I think with this sort of build, it's the opposite mentality, where it's like, we want to smash our head into the brick wall of Zerg, no matter what we see. And like the bonus thing in that very small percentage of games where they're completely ready for us, we want to learn when to say, oh, actually, in this very rare scenario when they've got like 10, 12 roaches already out, that's when we want to pull back and not commit to the fight. What do you think? Are you afraid to be so aggressive and decisive, or do you think that's a good idea?
Looking at this replay, I think if I beelined it to the natural, that would have been a better move. Yeah, I've seen when they have this many roaches like this guy has right now, it's kind of right around where I do nothing. I lose all my army before I'm able to kill roaches, and then I lose. That's how I lose. Or if Banelings knock out all my hellbats. Those are my weak points.
Yeah, we got a little bit excited here and started trying to do some really cheeky follow-up aggression. Got big value in the main base. We sniped a third. I mean, you can play this sort of scrappy TvT. We should have pulled our main army back for sure, but yeah, if our transition was a little better, definitely. I mean, we are now getting up the barracks, the E-base, the starport. You did some pretty devastating damage. You kept the drop alive. But like, what is this free drop doing?
Nothing. Die. I think it just dies.
Yeah, this is like all of us as Terran players. This is our number one problem is we just start kind of trying to do intuitive like harassment a little bit too much. There's like a seed in my keyboard. One sec. Well, that's jammed in there for good. Okay, never mind. But yeah, like it's not just that. It's like, why are we putting APM into this as well, right? We just did devastating damage, but even the Hellion drop in the main, I was already like, wow, we're getting fancy here. But we want to be using our brain power for our macro, right? Because remember the golden rule of Terran, it's whenever we commit to a pressure, we kind of want to be decisive, get shit done, and go home and focus on our macro. Because the longer it goes on, the more we're demanding like godlike world champion level mechanics. Because every second that goes by here, you know, those minerals stack up, right? You know, we're going to start hitting supply blocks. We're going to start missing mules back at home. And if we look at this, right, it's like, okay, cool. Well, we killed the third. Check this. He takes a pretty awful fight into our army. I mean, we could have pulled back a little bit there for sure into the lip zone, but, you know, whatevs. We got the third, we lose some units. Ah, well, we roast the main. I mean, we've already gone well above and beyond the call of duty. At this point, our mindset should be we've just ravaged. We've kicked this Zerg back to 1-base drones. Let's imagine he's got a lot of minerals in the bank and has bad macro, because Zergs always do, right? So we can just rebuild a lot of them pretty quickly. So we'll be back to 2-base soon. But even then, 2-base versus your 2-base, that's good as Terran, as long as we don't take counter damage. So like your initial response should always be like, okay, maybe load up the Hellions, but just get them the hell out of there. And we should be really focused on hitting all of our macro at home. So if we look at home, we can see that we weren't really giving ourselves that full amount of time. What are some of the symptoms? SCVs aren't queued back to minerals after building structures. We've like panicked, thrown them down. We haven't queued them back. So that's going to double up the APM that we have to spend just to fix up where our workers are. Tons of mules stacked up, right? Uneven saturation. We've pulled so many workers off our main to build like 10 structures at once. It's now undersaturated and the main's way oversaturated. We can see that these add-ons aren't coming down on time. And it's this point here, right? The deeper you go into microing something, the more punished you are for it, right? Because you're getting to the point where your minerals are getting higher and the opportunity cost is like going up and up and up. You're like, I could be doing so much with this money. The start of the pressure, you've just queued up some SCVs, you've queued up some mules, you've dropped some fresh depots or production or whatever. You can focus on your micro, miss macro a bit for 20, 30 seconds. It's not a big deal. Once you get to 40, 50 seconds, that money's floating more and more, and it like compounds the amount of missed spending that you're missing out on. So we should always have that urgency to like pull ourselves home. And I think this is all the flow-on effect of not being decisive with the first push, right? That's the picture I want to paint for you so you can recognize this feeling. When you're in this game where you're kind of looking at a pressure and kind of making up, maybe I'll pick up these Hellions and drop in the main. Do I stay here with the others to deny the third? Whenever you feel you're in that really kind of making it up on the fly spot and you're also not macroing well at home, you want to kind of say, wait a second, there's probably a point there where I should have said, we've done enough damage or we've focused enough. Let's withdraw from the attack or stop microing it. Go home and let's slap down the production, hit the add-ons, queue the SCVs back to mine and get the saturation all perfect, all that sort of stuff, right? So have a little bit more of a like, let's really focus my attention back on the macro and the spending after we do that harassment damage rather than getting carried away, because the longer we get carried away, the more it costs us back at home.
Gotcha.
Awesome. So I like the build, by the way. So general rule, let's always just beeline to the natural every game as your default, and you can work on a bonus thing. Always beeline to the natural. Viking, Hellbat, Marauder timing. Sick timing attack. Always beeline to the natural and commit hard. So versus Banes, you still commit, right? You just split your Hellbats, right? That's all you do. Just make sure they don't A-move in a big clump. Versus Roaches, get right in there and focus them down, you know? Start a step forward, basically. Don't let them group up.
Okay.
Because if you let them group up, Roaches are much more deadly. But in small numbers spread out, they can't really evade the Hellbats. The Marauder slow starts tagging them and they can't run away. And that's where stuff goes well. So late game at this stage, we do see we've got, you know, reasonable amount of SCVs. We're dropping a fourth. So we are going for the fast fourth command center here. Oh no, we've got 7 barracks. That's all right. Only 1 factory. And where's our 2-2? Our 2-2 was quite delayed, but I mean, it was a scrappy start for both sides. That's all right. So at this point, we are a little bit blind on the map. We've got a few Marines out on the right-hand side. And I guess we're just gearing up for a big sort of 2-2 push. If you have the APM and if you'd focused on your macro earlier, I would be saying you should have had 2 medevacs and Marines out there already clearing up creep, right? Figuring out where the 4th base is and clearing a path to set up your push. Because you had a lot of macro to catch up on, I think it was right of you to say, oh, let's just focus on spending the money, because I don't think you had the APM to do both at once. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, that's probably something I need to start thinking about is, yeah, lots of times I just kind of get back once like right now I'm moving out, but I don't know where the 4th is. I never, towards the whole game, I don't even think I went over to that base. I just kind of move over towards insane. Where I'm headed right now.
Yeah, and that's a big problem if we don't know where that 4th is. I mean, they normally do take this central 4th, but like, okay, so right now we're setting up a sort of parade push, but you can see, even though we've queued up depots, we haven't queued up proper Marines, we haven't queued up Widow Mines, so we're banking money, and we're also, as soon as we don't see the 4th, we've kind of become lost. Our units are super deep on creep. We don't have that many Widow Mines. Where are the Widow Mines, by the way? They're all at home. They're all burrowed in our natural. Oh, every Widow Mine is so valuable against the Banelings in this push. Luckily for you, there's not a lot of Ling Bane, but we do really need those Widow Mines. We also haven't realized our opponent's actually going Roach Hydra. We did see Roaches earlier, so against any Roach-based play, we'd much rather have tanks, mass tanks, as many tanks as possible, right? You can play with Widow Mines, but tanks are definitely the better option. So I would like to see a little bit more pre-spreading and consolidation of your forces. I feel right now you've split your army in two. And that army on the top, you can only save half of that with that medevac. And the army on the south, super clumped. If he A-moved that, all those Marines are going to die to Banelings. So I think we're not setting ourselves up decisively enough here. And it's because we haven't scouted. We haven't got an idea of where the fourth is. We're not clear of how we're going to actually force the Zerg to fight us. And we're kind of going, shit, I got to do something. And we start kind of making stuff up on the fly. So this is where battle plans are really important, right? Every time we start doing engagement micro like this, and I do it all the time. You'll see me do this, and I get really angry at myself after the game because I'm like, oh my god, I had no idea of what I was actually doing with this attack, and I throw away a big section of my army for no reason. I always say, let's have a better battle plan. Let's look at this map and think about where I want to push. For me on this map, unless they have this very top base, unless they have that one, I'm always going to break the rocks and push through to this high ground, because you see that high ground area? Beautiful area for tanks, mines, bio to spread. I think it's like just way, way sicker, even if you're pushing to the middle or if you're pushing to this left base. Either way, having the battle plan of I'm going to push up these rocks and I'm going to either branch to the left-hand side of that cliff, you see where I'm signaling, or the right-hand side, depending on which base they've taken. But either way, we know, okay, cool, I know where I'm setting up. I'm going to like branch forward from there and slowly work my way forward. But we never want to dive in with a big section of units like this, because it just gives them an easy pick-off. They're like, oh, cool, part of your army? Easy. They clean that up. Nice. They say, thank you very much. Behind this, we're not spending our money. And we're going, oh, crap. So now we're going to go home and queue up more Marines. But our fourth isn't down. We still haven't brought those Widow Mines. And now, because we just threw away a chunk of our attack, we're really stalled out in terms of where do we go from here? So I think just try to be, clear on, if you even drop a scan to see where the fourth is, figure out what angle you want to go down. We're going to push down that angle next time, and we're going to absolutely crush it. You can see this attack. His army was pretty trash. So we would have wrecked this if we had those extra Marines and Marauders and a little bit better macro. And this is what we'll find is if we can have confidence in our push, make sure we don't throw units away separate from the main army. We really have that consolidated pack. That's going to just give us such a better engagement. If you had another 15 Marines here, every Hydra goes down. As it is, I think you'll still win this game. Let's take a look. Okay, so we're still rallying in. That's not a great call, but yeah.
I pull it out, but just not almost lose it here, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, our opponent never counterattacked after losing the third and losing all the drones in the main, right? So we were ahead, even though we mismacroed a little bit. We were in a good spot. But yeah, it's like, okay, cool, we had a scrappy game. It's really important to kind of center ourselves and find our normal rhythm in these games more than any other, right? It's really easy to get distracted, get excited, your adrenaline's pumping because you've been running Hellbats and Hellions around their base. Have a deep breath, follow through on the battle plan, and it should be way better. So let's just fast forward to the next fight. Guys, if there isn't anyone already in chat channel, Piggy, we need a Diamond 2 or Diamond 3 Zerg. Someone around 3,800 MMR, 4,000 MMR, 3,500. Anyone in that general Diamond 2, Diamond 3 range, please do hop into chat channel Piggy on the NA server. We're going to get in some live games up next. So this time around, you can see now that he's expanded up here, we're more comfortable. Like, you're a bit more methodical with your spreading, because you're kind of like, oh, cool, his bases are here now. So you did a much better spread. Like, this setup just looks confident to me. I can see you've got a clearer plan of what you're doing with this army. Your Marines are way better spread. You've kept them all together, and it just looks at much nicer engagement from you. Oh, those libs are doing work. Juicy. Juicy, juicy, juicy. Whoa, don't know what I just clicked on, but there we go. Nice. Noise. Good job, man. Good job. Yeah, confidence in that parade push. Cool. Let's get out and let's get a game going. So we'll hop out of that replay. So a couple of notes I'll write up. You're the leader. So guys, if you're in the Piggy chat, all you need to do is go into your chat channel, go /join space Piggy in game. That's right, down here in your chat box. And you need to shout out in there right now saying, hey, I'm a Diamond 2, Diamond 3 Zerg. MTA dude, you can host up a map of your choice, and then you can invite a few of these Zerg players who are around your MMR, and we can choose whichever one you want to play against. Meanwhile, I'm going to write a few notes here in your document. Big thanks, by the way, to the people who've subbed. Jim Davis, MTG. Hey, Jim, thank you so much for the support, dude. We also have Weirds, 12-bit cheer, Quarky Potato with the 3-month resub. Thank you, guys. Much love. So what we're going to be doing here is thinking about that in terms of when we notice ourselves overextending and hanging around too long, we're probably terribly mismacroing, and should be more decisive. It means we need we need a better battle plan. Yeah, awesome. So that we can follow a game plan rather than using active brain power to problem solve on the fly. You know, we want to try and simplify StarCraft as much as possible so these regular scenarios that we hit over and over are automated, right? It's like we're just pulling a set play rather than looking at the game and trying to make it up, right? We want to have all these set plays so that in the midst of the absolute chaos, the craziness, all the different strategies our opponent can throw at us, we're going to be able to just pick the ones that work for us, that we're going to be able to just pull out a set play, say, I recognize this scenario, let's do this. And it's just going to make things a little bit easier for you to get that rhythm down, bouncing forwards, bouncing backwards with the early pressure between macro and micro. And in the late game, like once we get to the big armies, it's almost pure micro, right? There's a bit of queuing up units behind it. Occasionally we go home to drop a new base, build a planetary, transfer workers, but most of our attention is just about setting up those beautiful big parade pushes, and they can work out really well.
All right, I think we're ready to go.
Whenever they say they're ready, yep. Draxos is the one we're going to go for. No worries.
All right.
Thank you everyone who did offer to help. We ended up just using Draxos. Do hang around in the channel if you're still just chilling on the stream. We might use someone else in the next one. All right, now obviously our opponent's going to kind of know what you're doing. Let's hope they're not too blind countery. If they are, I'll give them instructions for the next game. But just focus on your build. What are we doing? You did it perfectly in that last game you're opening. Same opening, just commit decisively into the natural expansion, smash home in there. Behind it, you know, get some macro down and that sort of stuff, and we'll go from there. So let's commit decisively to the push. Hopefully get a lot of damage done in a short period of time, free up our attention to focus on our macro. And then once we've got our third established, our first 2 medevacs and stim marines will be pushing out onto the map and starting to clear up creep and figure out where that 4th base is so we can plan our two big old parade push and get smashing. Good luck, have fun, man. Let's do it.
All right, got it. Thanks.
All right, we're going to turn his mic down a little bit so the clickety-clack is not too loud. Everybody, thanks for hanging out. Yarders, welcome to the pigsty. A 100 worker game seems intense, says Nosh. Indeed. Don't forget to get in your replays for iCast, your freaking awesome replays. The cast is going to be a couple weeks away after I am Katowice, but please get your replays in now. The challenge is corporate greed. So for those of you who want your replays cast on my weekly show and want a chance to win a bunch of money, as well as if you get your replay chosen, you do win Liquid Rain, the novel, either sent to you physically or an ebook, depending on if you are the winner of the day or not. Either way, get your replays in. You need to hit 100 workers. We usually love the weirder games, the more aggressive games, the crazier games, and the super insane ones. But anything that you're proud of, that's out of the box, if you're bronze, silver, gold, platinum, diamond, if it's a team game, doesn't matter. As long as you do play the challenge and it's an exciting game, it's always a good chance of it getting in. So send those replays in. Info's in Twitch chat there, ! ICFire anytime. For now, we are coaching Zerg vs Terran. This is Diamond 2, Diamond 3 sort of range. We're coaching MTA World PC here. Terran player who he's been struggling with being decisive with his pushes. He's also been struggling a little bit with bouncing home and macroing. He gets caught up in feeling like he needs to keep staring at the front and doing damage, and whilst it sometimes pays off, it doesn't always pay off. Hey, Zazer. Yeah, WCS Mexico shirt. It's one of my favorite shirts, dude. WCS Mexico, Copa Intercontinental 2016. Sick event, dude. It was actually like still just one of the favorite events I've ever been to. Mexico City. It's really cool.
SCV ready. You want a piece of me, boy?
Hey, Nimbleoth, what's up? Dude, it was so good, wasn't it?
SCV ready.
Showtime and Uthermal, two of the pastiest pro gamers out there, deciding not to wear sunscreen while they go up the Pyramid of the Moon and the Pyramid of the Sun. They're like, nah, it's not that sunny. We'll be okay. I'm like, neither of you have hats or sunscreen. And they're like, nah, we'll be fine. I'm like, you guys don't understand. This is Mexico. I come from Australia. I understand. You guys need sunscreen. They're like, nah, it'll be fine. Neck minute, two bright red tomato face pro gamers like, does someone have aloe vera? They're like friggin' blistering and shit. I'm like, oh my god. I tell that story all the time because it was so good when they faced off against each other and just two bright red, pink-faced pro gamers on camera. People are like, oh, is there something wrong with the lighting? These players look really pink. It's like, no, they're just really sunburnt.
Add on.
Ready to raise some hell. SCV ready.
You might need to reopen your game, Bashard, but it should show up straight away, dude. Alright. So, the build order's looking pretty good so far. Check it out. Hits the supply block as the depot finishes. This is the sort of symmetry I live for. As a Terran player, having a tight build order is one of the most important things. Now, one problem here is this barracks placement. I'm not a fan of that. Very easy for them to scout. Probably should have the tech lab over there, especially with you want your marauders kind of hidden in the back of your base. Now let's check out this Viking path. Has it been given an attack path yet? I don't think so. So this Viking, you would want to kind of search around for other overlords if possible. Draxos is just going fast lair, heavy queen. Alright, yeah, this build's really good against someone who just goes queens. I would say this build is like the counter to Rule of One Gas. If the Rule of One Gas player doesn't just non-stop build queens really, really well, they're really going to struggle to stop this. Because if they don't see it coming, they're often going to lose 2 or 3 queens because of the concussive shells before they can even group up and consolidate their defense, and then everything falls apart really quickly. So everything's going to group up across the map. Have we got 3 marauders? Only 2 this time.
I really appreciate your coaching sessions.
Ancient One, thank you so much for the huge $100 tipperino. Well, I guess technically 99, but I'm going to call it $100 anyway. A juicy hunch slides it into my hand, that crisp $100 bill. Where is the attack? What is going on? Where are the marauders? They're over there. Oh no. A little bit indecisive here. I really want him to land the Viking as well. He should not have the Viking in the air during this push. Alright, I'm going to write a few notes here in the document for him to look at afterwards.
Reporting for action.
He's turned down a 3rd CC. That makes me happy. Come on, where's the... Does he have concussive? He does. Good. Yeah. Yep. More fell bats. There's nothing in micro there. Yeah, there's nothing in micro there. He can just A-move that.
It's the fight you've all been waiting for.
Beautiful. His multitask is on point. And yeah, this is often a game-winning push. It's a brutal push. If you're going to commit this hard to your aggressive openings as a Terran, you need to be very confident and decisive.
Mineral field completed.
Hide in barracks. Delicious.
Alright.
Juicy. Very good. How'd you feel about that game?
Yeah, I think it went pretty good. I was worried I wasn't going to be able to take out the queens, but it worked out.
They don't have roaches with them or banelings. Like the queens take a long time to clear through that push. They need a lot of queens and a lot of transfuse. So yeah, it's insane because they can't run away once the concussive shells are on them. You know, I was a little bit worried because when we first committed without the marauders, I was like, oh no, we left the marauders behind. We got to group up, man. But once the marauders were there, it was, you know, it's like those queens can't disengage. And anyone who tries to do like a Rule of One Gas, a heavy queen Zergling defense against this, is usually in a lot of trouble. It's very hard for them to defend this. Did we have a natural wall up when we moved out there? I feel like we didn't.
I think so.
Okay.
Just barely, yeah. I had to lower that.
Let's host up another map. And, Draxos, you feel like another go?
thought he'd keep the hype train going.
Damn. Yeah, host up again. Sorry, just eating a muesli bar here. So, one little note: hide the barracks. Try to put that barracks to the right-hand side if you can, like basically just away from the edge, and rally the marauders back, or you know, somewhere away from the edge. Just because it's a little bit too easy to scout otherwise, and the marauder's a big tell. Zerg sees a marauder, they're going to shit the bed and start building a lot of defense. Otherwise, the opening looked pretty damn crisp. Just make sure you consolidate all those units at the front, and I want to see that Viking landed, just by default, right? Why? Because we want less decision making. Everything is based around you crashing into the ground defense. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes the Viking killing a few overlords ends up being more valuable, but usually we just want to be able to like crash through the queens, crash through the roaches. Every bit of DPS helps, right? And we want to take the decision making out so you can free up your brain power for other things. We don't want to waste your brain power on like being like, should I do it this way this game? Maybe I'll try this way. No. We don't want those adjustments on the fly. Save your brain power for just doing it the way you did it that game. Like I love that you were looking at the fight and there's that adrenaline pumping moment where you're like, do I do anything? And you were just like, there's nothing to micro here. I'm on top of the queens, nothing I can do here but a move. You went home, you dropped a third CC, then you went home and dropped 3 barracks. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. And that's something that's really good, identifying that when you're like, well, there's nothing to micro. Awesome. It worked out well. So let's go one more time here. I am going to just give Draxos some instructions. Try to make things as hard for you as possible. Giving him some secret instructions that you don't know about. And, alright. He says he can make it work. Awesome. Alright, man. So same thing. Just get that build down tight. Let's get those marauders together. Yeah. Let's try and get the damage done in a nice tight window. Beeline to that natural. Bounce home. And add the macro behind it. And it should be awesome. Alright. Good luck. Have fun. Let's do it. Cool. Alright, guys. So the other thing that we've got to kind of consider here, right? The main thing we've focused on so far is simply commit hard, be aggressive. We also need to talk about laying out an exact plan of what the transition is. Because whilst he's doing, I believe he's doing an exact plan, it always feels the same, 3 barracks. I feel like his upgrades and his gases are a bit late and a bit weirdly timed. So I'm just going to look at that and we're going to discuss it after this game and make sure it's as efficient as possible. Thank you so much. Oh, damn. Arjun with a $5 tip. FFV or die says, thought I'd keep the hype train going. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Going above and beyond to support this stream. Thank you. Tyrell Squire with the 2-month resub says yee as well. Thank you. Thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate it. What's happening? Do Overseers still get full health after they're done morphing? All Zerg units do, unknown StarCraft. Yeah. Morphing into a new unit is like the steroids of Zerg. It should be illegal. It should be banned. It's a little bit ridiculous. Doesn't seem to make too much sense. It's like you're a bruised and bloodied Zergling. You've got one leg. You're limping along the ground. Abathur's like, you turn into a Baneling. You turn into a cocoon. You pop out at full life. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It's just how Zerg works, man. You can be also shooting a cocoon to pieces as like a Marine or something. It can be like a bloody heap where it's pretty much dead. And then if it finishes morphing, bam, it's a full hit point unit. So, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. He killed 2 overlords early as well, which sucks for them holding the push. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, dude. Freezing. Did I say something messed up again? Yeah, that's like an automatic given. I always am going to say weird innuendos accidentally. Alright, always land the Viking was the main point in that last one. And I also just want to make sure this transition is ironed out. Because at the moment, it's always 3rd CC, 3 more barracks. Which is weird, because he's only on 1 barracks with this build, right? That means he's going to 4 barracks regularly. Ugh. Ugh. I like my symmetry. I like I like it to be 1 barracks, then 3 barracks, then 5 barracks. I don't like 1 barracks, then 4 barracks, and 5 barracks. It's weird. It freaks me out. We're going to keep an eye on it and see if that happens. We're also going to check the gas timings. Be like, when do those gases actually go down? Double eBay. 3rd and 4th gas. I think that's the order he's doing. And then, like, he's randomly dropping a 5th racks after that. It has to be 135. All the Terran players in chat agree with me, man. Alright, guys. So over here, Draxos this time knows this push is coming. Has a 3rd base on the way, not particularly early, and is mining an insane amount of gas. So that's going to be Draxos' problem economically with keeping up with this. At least is pushing the drones pretty hard. You need to really build that economy early to make sure you can get enough units out to defend this. So Marine kind of moved around to try and deny an Overlord. The starport feels a little bit late this game. I'm not sure. Is it? Might be. I don't think the timing matters too much anyway, because you only need a Viking and a medevac out of it. So as long as he immediately queues up a Viking right now, which he's already done. His depot starts down there just after the starport finishes. So, yeah. Oh, I think his partner's come and asked him a question. You can hear him doing the distracted... yep. Yeah, I'll come down for dinner in a sec. Mom! Leave me alone! Play the video game! No, the Marauder's being spotted. That's what I was talking about. You can like hide the barracks or at least rally the Marauders over. So even if the Overlord comes in, it doesn't see it. Having the Marine just chilling at the front, terrible laziness there. You should absolutely have pushed that away or at least killed the Overlord for it. Hide the barracks, always land the Viking. And yeah. Keep him 2. That Marine needs to be in the corner of the base, denying the scout. Mom! Meatloaf! Fuck!
Research complete.
My friend Jeffrey needs some meatloaf! Bring us some more Mountain Dew, Mom! I'm also not sure if he did barracks. He did barracks gas this game. I feel like maybe he did gas first in one of the games. So I just want to double check that he's consistent with this build order. We'll see how it goes. Isn't getting concussive shells way too early, says Jaden. Special was getting it as the last Marauder was making. It's better to just get it ahead of time and make sure you don't forget it. Yeah, like if you're in Diamond, you don't need to like be like, oh, I gotta get this 50 minerals and 50 gas later. Like no. You're likely to forget and screw the entire build up. It's only 5 roaches on the way. Draxos is dead as a doorknob. Now, for those of you who don't know, doorknobs are actually not animate life forms. They are, in fact, inanimate life forms. And therefore, yeah, being as dead as a doorknob means you're just basically dead. Land the Viking. I had to tell him to land the Viking. He did it. This is what happens. Even if they've got like 8 roaches about to pop like Draxos does, you just pick everything off one thing at a time. So yeah, 3rd CC, 2 barracks. It was 2 barracks this time. Yes, yes. Maybe it was a mistake in the previous games. I'm so happy. I'm a silly amount of happiness right now, guys. This is the one build where you'd prefer 6 Banes, Angerstein. Either way, you just need a lot of stuff. A spore crawler coming to the front is huge. So if you have a spore, bring the spore to the front. It's like pull everything away from the push. If you spot it coming, that's also key. And yeah, there's like a few other things. Oh, you should have sieged up on that base. I mean, the Liberator's going to be annoying. All right. So he's gone double eBay. He still hasn't taken the gases on his natural. That worries me a little. He hasn't been queuing his SCVs back.
Add-on complete.
Have to queue SCVs back to mining. Every time. And the gas count seems to work out okay. So I'm okay with it. Oh my god, he's still denying mining there, really? Draxos is so dead, guys. Draxos is just in massive like panic mode. Whenever you're in trouble as a Zerg, a real power is the ability to just go like, build a hatch. Oh, I've got minerals floating, I'm in chaos, build a macro hatch, build a 4th, keep droning, move a spore, keep droning. So because Draxos is kind of struggling just to get back in control of that, that's why he's really struggling to bounce back from this scenario. Whereas you'll see as players get higher and higher level, they get better and better at recognizing how they need to adjust their play when they're in a shit spot and how they need to like put so much more focus on getting back to parity. And just ignore any follow-ups. You know, he's kind of continuing to build roaches. A lot of pros, a lot of high-level players, they take that much damage. They know they're so deep in the dumpster that to get back in it, they need to just hope there's no harassment for the next few minutes. Just build drones for like 2 minutes straight, and then build your fighting units. Problem is, because he's built the roaches, then he's built the drones, hasn't even got map control. A couple of Hellions here could easily just dive in and do a big bunch of damage. Now, for some reason, MTA has another round of Marauders and Hellbats, and this I find very confusing. Are we meant to keep building Marauders and Hellbats here? Is this a thing? Wave 2?
Queen's ready.
I'm very confused. I would not really imagine this is normally what you do. This seems weird.
Research.
Ready for dust off.
What's the plan with the add-ons? Shouldn't we just swap our buildings?
Upgrade complete.
Yeah. We seem to go mines by default.
Add-on.
A tank is going to make you way more confident, since this feels like you're panicking over the threat of a roach counterattack. Single tank on the high ground is pretty solid against that. And continuing to build the unimportant units. Marauders and Hellbats. They're not the worst units, they're just not... You want Marines, you want tanks, you want, you know, medevacs, right? So yeah, he now starts tanks and a second factory and so on. 2-2 or 4th base. It's nice, but it's just one of those things where I'm like, this is like a little bit weird. Marauder drop is also not the best. Like, it just can't kill workers that quickly. You get 8 stem Marines in a mineral line, that mineral line's gone. 3 Marauders, they're good for picking off a stray roach or 2. But yeah. Oh my god, how did this army... Okay. Interesting little force here. He's going to stim forward and fight these roaches. I don't know why, though. Okay, realizes the 3rd's under attack. That's good. I guess just sensed that he had more units. Fair enough. It just felt a little bit disorganized was all. No scan to clear the creep.
Ready for dust off.
He was a bit stressed with the multitask. He's just going to win the game. Fair enough. Bit of a weird commitment versus the roaches.
Mineral field depleted.
But it worked out. Bonus points if we use depots to wall off our 3rd base from run-bys. That's another cool thing he could add into his play. Once again, massive damage done with the pressure, and that's kind of how this build should be going. It's like, can we just be decisive and consistently find the damage with the pressure? Because that's the most important thing. How many Hellions did he make? 12 to 14? Yeah, I think it was somewhere around there. Alright, Draxlus, you can leave, dude. Sometimes people think they're helping by staying in the game longer. Once you're dead, you guys can leave if you want to help us out. Draxlus might actually think he has a chance, but maybe he doesn't realize. Terran is on 4 base, so GG's. Rickety wrecked. Alright, Draxos has had his 2 chances. He's out. He's out. He can't challenge the delicious Marauder Hellbats. Well played, dude. That was awesome. I do not hear you. I'm not sure if you're muted or something.
Yeah, sorry, I had to mute my mic. Yeah, I saw a lot of things I kind of failed with the follow-up, but it's good to get a little practice.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of notes as always that I'm writing, which you can get so much out of by watching the replays once we're done and going back tomorrow night or something when your brain's fresh. Watch the replays, read the notes at the same time, and kind of like just, you know, really let it sink into your brain. But the most important things are always the things we want to talk about, right? Number 1, we had a Marine. We didn't use it to deny scouting. So we're always going Barracks Gas with this build, right? And we're always getting that Marine after the Reaper?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, should be in the corner of our base. If you want to try and look for an Overlord out the front, that's fine, but it should, you know, it should have killed that Overlord for seeing the Marauders. There's no reason we should let them get away with that. Yes, the Viking's going to come out later, but the Viking is slow. There's not a gas first build. There's not a fast Viking. It comes out like after the Overlord scout. It's often going to happen. So that Marine should totally be there. One thing we could definitely get bonus points for is queuing SCVs back to mining. Now, obviously, the reason you're not doing that is you're kind of going, whoop, jump home, drop barracks, drop CC, go back to the fighting. And that's why I'm not like, oh, you idiot, why aren't you doing this? You know, it's like, it's one of these things where it's like, this is totally understandable, you're prioritizing the fight. If we can find the speed and the comfort to do that without feeling like we're looking away from the fight too long, it would just be bonus points, right? Like lots of little things like this would just make our macro a bit smoother after. The big thing that game, as you said, was your follow-up. And this is why we need to be very clear with our follow-up. Are you nervous about roaches coming across the map and counter-attacking you? That's what it felt like in some of these games.
I felt like I couldn't keep up with. I forgot to build tanks, so I kind of like had to go back, and I didn't even do that good of a job of that.
So we got to have a clear plan there, right? So normally, after as your push moves out, we want to be swapping that factory off and building a tech lab and building tanks, right? I imagine, after doing like the command center and the extra barracks.
I've never done that. I've always just done mines, but hearing you say that it's a lot better for Roach Hydra totally makes sense. So
I mean, because you build a few mines and it's kind of nice, right? But if they actually do a Roach, it's like one of those like panicky things. You're like, cool, I got a few mines. This will help me not die. But like a Roach attack is still scary and distracting, whereas a single tank on the high ground will give you some more comfort, right?
Yeah.
Also, you kept building Hellions that game, and that's something where, you know, it should really be kind of swap the tech up, right? Transition into the full macro. The Hellions aren't going to defend a counterattack. They might find some angles, but we kind of ended up moving out with like round 2 of Marauder Hellbat. And at that point, your opponent's obviously not going to really be surprised by it. It's not efficient at that point. So if instead all that money was put into getting our production up, getting out a tank or 2 for safety, and getting out Marines, medevacs, we can then move out with 2 medevacs and Marines, right? With Stim. That should be our next real move out. So I think that's something we should have a very clear, exact game plan of what we're doing. So with your barracks, it's on the tech lab. You're starting Stim straight away on it, right? You're just kind of queuing that up after the concussive, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are you doing with your other structures? Just kind of list it out here while I find a new opponent.
Yeah, I build a third CC around like 5 to 5:15. Then I that's around the time I'm microing a little bit. And then I come back, I build 3 more barracks, and then a micro. Then I come back like 10, 15 seconds later, build 2 eBays. And then I go back, and what I'm hearing is what I need to do is during that some point get my factory off and get a tech lab building, because I've been building more Hellions just to use the money that builds up.
Yeah,
it kind of works out, but I guess hearing you say that kind of clicks, because I don't have enough units if I to transition into if I don't do well, if I don't do critical damage essentially with the Hellbat timing. There's a big dip in my army supply. So yeah, I'm gonna have to time that out. I guess I'll just swap it right over. I don't know when to do it.
Well,
Maybe
I guess
when I do my eBays.
Yeah, so the factory swap it off to build another tech lab, right? That's what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
I mean, we're going, what, 6, maybe 8? We're going 8 Hellions, at most 10, right? Because we're still kind of rallying into the fight, I think is how you like to do it?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So let's say about 10, right? So basically at some point, obviously the priority is still getting the 3rd CC, the barracks and stuff, but it should be kind of around the time that attack's getting cleaned up, where it's like, okay, cool, let's swap this off, build a tech lab, start building tanks. And kind of, we're just doing that as part of getting everything else set up, and that should work quite nicely for you. Yeah, and even if you just leave that reactor free, but preferably we can put one of the barracks on it, of course, since they're going to need reactors anyway, and it just helps get your production going a little bit faster. So it's not really a big change. We don't want to disrupt your rhythm too much. It's literally just, we just don't need to keep building Hellions there. So we'll rally into the fight a bit, but as soon as that fight's kind of getting, okay, I've done some damage, but there's no point even looking. I'm just going to A-move these units, let them clean up whatever they do, let them all get killed. I'm going to go home and focus on macro. Let's lift the factory, do this, swap this around, get your normal add-ons going. So I've hosted up a game here. Let's hop in and try that one more time. The decisive push has just been ruining your opponents, right? But this is good because this is going to allow us to just say, okay, full focus on that macro, dude, because if we can get the 1-1 started, the stim, getting to shield steadily, like just having those Marines out on time, getting our 3-base set up nicely, and really putting our focus on that. This is cool because it just takes the pressure of us being there, watching our army, being in our opponent's face, right? I feel like the mistakes we're making are often happening when we're kind of like, oh, I've got the second wave of 3 Marauders and 6 Hellions here. Maybe we'll do something. Or like in that first replay we watched where your units were there and you were kind of pushing, but you weren't achieving anything for a while. Like you killed the 3rd, but you kind of hung around and then you started doing this Hellion drop and it did big damage, but we were spending a lot of time doing all of that. So what this is going to do is it's going to say tight, decisive pressure, tight, decisive transition. Swap from micro to the macro. We beeline into that natural to ensure we're getting as minimal a time as possible staring in that base. And then we go from there. Now, we've got 2 options for you. A 4,000 MMR player, Sky9, or Hurricane/Firefrog, who is a 4.4k player on EU, the elitist ladder. So which one do you want to play against? The 4.4k or the 4k?
I don't even care. You know, it's kind of a crapshoot. So. Yeah.
I mean, you're just focusing on your thing, so I guess let's just give you Sky9 then. We'll just give you Sky9, the 4K MMR player. These players kind of know what's coming anyway, so I'm sure it's like going to get harder every game anyway, because they're all people who are watching the stream. Obviously, they're not watching while we play. Wink, nudge, Sky9, please mute the stream / don't have it open and stream cheat. That's not helpful for the student. But let's go. You ready?
Yep.
All right. Already, just being more decisive with the push, more decisive with the follow-up has been awesome. Let's keep doing it. Let's just keep getting that rhythm down, hitting those depots, hitting those timings, dropping those mules, just hitting all those little details. We're going to beeline for the natural. That time we landed the Viking in the middle of the fight, which made me very happy. I was literally pressing unmute and was about to be like, land the Viking. And then you did it before I could even open my mouth. So that made me very happy. Let's hit hard with that timing. We're going to swap into tank production, and our next move out won't be until we have roughly 16 Marines and 2 medevacs ready to move out and find the 4th, start clearing creep, and then we can kind of plan where our push is going to go. And of course, as 2/2s getting along and we have a large army, we are going to push large and in charge and siege our opponent down. Let's fix that rally point on that command center, queue up more SCVs, and let's do it. Good luck, have fun, man.
All right, thanks.
All right, guys. We are teaching the Terran how to slay the Zerg. If only in Aliens they actually had more than 1 medevac of Marines, they would have destroyed. Because let's face it, the Aliens were pretty dumb in that movie. It was like 8 Marines in a medevac, plus Ripley in her bloody SCV suit. You're like, come on. But yeah, in this case, we actually have an economy behind it. We're mining minerals, which we're somehow turning into troops. Apparently, the CRISPR of the future gene technology is pretty impressive. If we can grow people out of minerals, which is kind of cool. But yeah, we're going to do that. We're going to have more drops, more stuff. What's something else MTA can add in? He gets a bit static. I think once he swaps into the aggression, what's a way he can create more problems for his opponent? And I'm going to actually unmute and tell him to do this at this point. It is a little bit of multi-prong. Doesn't have to be a lot. Doesn't have to take a lot of your attention. When we push out with our 2/2 push, it would be amazing, and we'd get even more bonus points. I like to call it bonus points because these little things, they're not like the vital thing that will you win the game. They're like little things that'll make it hard for your opponent. That'll like make your life a little bit easier. So what could he do? Cue a single drop or liberator onto the opposite side of the map to distract and pull attention away. So let's imagine later in this game, opponent's expanded up here. We've spotted this 4th. We're pushing through this way, sieging up tanks here and stuff and trying to get this parade push to kill that 4th, right? If you're just doing that, fine. It's not too hard for Zerg to flank from here, to flank from here, and come in and kind of collapse on you from all 3 sides, right? However, you send a single liberator down the south of the map, siege it on the Zerg's mineral line. Suddenly the Zerg's like, oh shit, he's panicking. He's trying to respond to that. Suddenly there's tanks shelling his base. He's let you get set up in a nice position. He's going to pull the trigger and attack before he gets his flank set up. He's dying, right? So it's just about, it could be a single dropship that you unload on the south side of the map, you stim in and clear some creep, or snipe a 5th base on the bottom. It's just about creating some form of threat on the opposite side of the map. Now, Sky9 here, guys, is going for a a weird kind of one base Ravager type poke, and MTA World has scouted this. Now, this is obviously a bit of a different scenario, but we get to see how well he responds under pressure. Now, his build should be an easy hold. I don't like this bunker positioning too much. I also don't like that we're building Hellions against when we know some sort of rush is coming. Now, that being said, he doesn't know what the rush is. I would have loved him to actually figure out exactly what it is. Hellions aren't the worst unit. They've got hit points. They deal some damage. But you see what I'm talking about? The bunker doesn't really cover the wall off at all. Thankfully, the Ravagers do come a little bit high. And there's SCVs here to repair. Let's see how MTA does this. I'm going to swap to his camera and swap to the production tab. All right, let's see what the plan is. He's going to lift the command center. Good. He's going to build a Marauder. He's still building more Hellions, so he's still focused on that counter-attack timing. The downside is this is not an efficient way of getting rid of this push. The upside is when he does counter-push, he's going to have a shitload of Hellbats in front of these Marauders. And those Ravagers are going to have a real bad time. I'd love to see a medevac first. He's still going Viking, I believe. No, he is going medevac first. Fantastic. That's great because it allows you to come and just drop Marauders and trap these Ravagers, basically. Oh, he's going down pre-concussive shells. Oh, no. He does dodge the Biles. He's doing some good damage. The Ravagers were not focus firing there on the Marauder. One more Marauder shot, and that Ravager's 100% dead. Oh, does get it. Oh, eats 2 Biles, but I think that's good enough. So, he's got to reland as natural. He's doing that. He's got to sell the bunker. He's got to rebuild depots. And he's done a good job of handling this so far, guys. A good job of handling this. Hey, Rommel, what's up? No, I don't need any more practice partners. We're about to finish up the coaching session and get back to some cheesy games on the ladder. It's going to be fantastic. I think today we'll definitely be finishing with cheese. Maybe some Florencio files. Should we? I know people love the Florencio files, and I haven't done any episodes this week. Should we? I've still got a ton of replays against, quite a few against famous streamers. I think we'll do it. I think there's never a wrong time to plug the Florencio files, especially when we've got so many new viewers hanging out on the stream. For those of you who don't know, Florencio is a dude, he's a Protoss streamer. And he's the world's first sewer mermaid. So yeah, he basically just hangs out in the sewer, cannon rushes people, builds his nexus inside his opponent's main base. He's a big fan of Void Rays. And just about none of his strategies make sense unless you graduated from his science school. So he's a very, very special, awesome human being. And he has his own show. Now, the armory is not ready. We've got only one Marauder. Oh, that's a Marauder too. That is a Marauder. Yeah, the skins always end up looking very similar. So it's 2 Marauders, 5 Hellbats. What have we got on the defense? 7 Roaches and a Ravager. Yeah, I mean, he's going to go cancel that third. That's good. Piss off, Windows Defender. Stop beeping at me. He has no idea what he's up against, and it is indeed a 2-base muta follow-up. So, let's see what he can do here. Ooh, eats a Bile. He could pull back and get the third. It's his call. His barracks are going down. He's still got a ton of money. Yeah, he's struggling in the wild game that he's found himself in. These mutas are like super late from Sky9 because he committed to the early Ravagers. They're still gonna, you know, the game's being slowed down. That Liberator siege, I'm not a fan of. I would have rathered it sieging like half on the base, I think. There are 3 Marauders here now, though. Ooh, eats another Bile. Now the mutas are out. I don't know if he's realized the mutas are there yet. Please look back. Please look back at the fighting. Yeah. He's dead. He can build Widow Mines, or a Thor, actually. Cancel the tank, make a Thor, and start trying to make turrets. So we need money for that Thor.
Somebody, get me out of this mess.
So you should have cancelled a few things that we're building to get the Thor started and the turrets sooner. Let's keep building SCVs. Whenever you're taking damage like this, let's keep building SCVs, keep macroing. You can rally that Thor towards these mutas. It will deal with them when it comes out. In the meantime, just keep building SCVs, keep trying to absorb this damage as best we can. Whenever we're in this scenario, we know we're taking a lot of damage. We need to focus on making sure. So let's rally that Thor. That Thor's going in the wrong direction. And yeah, mass SCVs, make another orbital on the 3rd base. Keep dropping mules. We're going to rally everything back to our main base. Let's fix up that saturation. So here's the biggest priority when you take damage like this. Keep those Thors and Marines in that main base since we have a turret in the natural. Yeah, get back in your main base. Don't ever think you can zone out those mutas because you're leaving your main wide open. Alright, yeah, just keep chilling, keep making your upgrades. So 1-1 needs to start up. And we always want to have 2 SCVs queued on each command center at every moment. So keep dropping mules, keep SCVs, come on, come on, come on. Let's put guys back on gas. We got 2-2 on the way. Awesome. We're doing good, man. You can absolutely bounce back from this if we stay calm in the midst of it. You know, our opponent didn't have a third base up very early. There's always a chance here. So we really want to focus on trying to react under pressure. He doesn't actually have a chance, guys. He's completely dead. I just want to see if he can kind of both use the adrenaline and the stress to actually play a lot better right now. A lot of people just play like absolute shit when they're behind, and I think like a good skill to develop is learning to just kind of focus on the most important things. Just dropped fresh mules on an unguarded base.
Mineral field depleted. Add-on complete.
Alright, he's going to transfer workers down there, which is awesome. Is he?
Complete.
Okay, he is. There we go.
Ready for dust off.
Combat shields, more Marines, more Marauders. Get a turret up. Yeah. You're doing good, man. Keep it up. Keep up this production. I want to decide if we want to go, you know, if we want to keep building tanks or if we want to go into Thors and Mines, and let's see if we can get a push going. But yeah, let's see if we can find the 4th base. And we don't need to headbutt here. We've got good macro. We're still going to queue up SCVs, drop mules behind it, and let's see what we can do. Alright, we should be very careful. He should be scanning ahead of his army right now. Don't know if he has a scan.
Upgrade.
He does. Holy shit, guys. He actually has a chance. I thought he was pretty dead. And I think if it was a mass roach follow-up, he would have been. But I guess because these upgrades took a while to finish. Alright, ease off. Focus on your macro. You've got a nice forward position. More upgrades, more depots. We need 2-2 to start. Keep building SCVs. Keep building Marines. You're doing good, man. Make sure we get the armor upgrade started as well. And then we can branch around to the north side in a little bit and see if we can find an angle up there to deny another base. So you see, this is where his macro, he should have like 40 Marines at home, right? Oh, Thingo's coming back. Skynet's coming from behind. Oh, really slow response. Really slow response here. Ooh, it was a bit of an awkward flank from Sky9, but it'll be more than enough. Yeah, with 2-2 and a hive on the way, still with 62 3-base saturation, 4th on the way. Like the creep spread was really bad by Sky9, but some of the other engagements, some of the tech, it's all been pretty damn sick. So, well fought, good sir. I was actually kind of working you up to play well, and you did really good. You were so far behind after the mutas, but you fought like an absolute warrior. I immediately after I was like, you've got a chance, you can still do this. I like muted myself in the chat. I was like, he doesn't have a chance. I just want to see if he can play well. And you did it. You friggin' smashed it, man. You actually played really good from behind there. So that was awesome.
Cool. Yeah.
The Muta surprise after an early Roach or Ravager pressure. It's tough to deal with, man. It's one of those cheeky builds. I'm a big fan of it as well. So Sky9 throwing the curveball out. And whenever you take damage to a pressure like that, when it kind of messes your game up, what's the first response for you if you encounter something like this on the ladder that catches you off guard a little bit?
Boy, you know, I was doing all the things I would do for mutas. I mean, turrets.
Let's rewind earlier in the game. Let's cast your mind back. Remember, let's talk about the roach pressure first, right? It's not like the mutas was just like, oh, you scouted this and you started coming. No. You couldn't respond by that point, right? You'd already been distracted and slowed down. So what about the first Ravager pressure? Remember, that's what you always want to think. When you get thrown off in a game, what went wrong first? The Ravagers. Right. So do you think you defended that well? Were you even? Were you ahead afterwards? What's your feeling?
Well, he didn't commit as much as I thought he would. So I was worried about dying, and then my macro, I think, suffered pretty heavily throughout that. I just had like too many idle SCVs. I didn't get things back in order quick enough. So I felt like I got behind on that. I know he probably committed to it too. So I don't really know where, if I ended up way behind or ahead.
I think it was probably pretty even, but definitely we can be ahead, right? Because since we scouted so early, we had a response up. If that response was a little bit cleaner, we probably could have been ahead, right? The main thing our opponent got out of it wasn't like a concrete being ahead, but it was well, now you're surprised by the muters because your attack hits just a little bit too late. If your attack's hitting 30 seconds earlier with like a few more units, you probably kill him before the muters are out. You ravage the whole natural, right? These muters spend ages cleaning it up. You got way more time to get your defense up at home and you're fine. So I guess we can draw from that the idea this was not a super clean hold of the ravages, right? Whenever there's a whole bunch of unsure things, if you cast your mind back, you're like, was I don't know if I was ahead or behind. What we know for sure is you didn't have an exact clear response of what you were doing in that scenario. So that's something you want to always tack onto as a StarCraft player. You want to be like, did I know exactly what to do in this scenario? No, we didn't. So against a Ravager pressure like that, we would love to go Cyclone and get a Cyclone out and just shut it down, right? Because a single Cyclone, you just kill the Overlord, spotting the high ground, start picking off the Ravagers one at a time. Easiest hold of your life, right? Whereas we ended up in this weird kind of Marauder Hellion fight, and it kind of works, but we didn't quite have concussive yet. And then, like, we're kind of eating biles and stuff, and it was, we lost a depot, and it's just a kind of distraction. So what we need is a reaction list. If we've been thrown off by something in the game, if it's created weirdness or us being indecisive, it's achieved a goal, right, of screwing us over. Whether or not it did direct damage is not the case. So we need to say, okay, reaction list. Remember, the biggest thing I'm a big fan of, whenever I encounter something weird, if I don't have a clear plan of how to deal with that, I'm like, how am I going to do it? And I got to write it down. So reaction list. 3 Ravager poke. First of all, we might say Reaper verse 1 base can check for, because you saw that hatchery was incredibly late, right? This was not just a pull hatch, it was super late hatch. Check for Roach Warren is the easiest way before going home. So you can just be like, oh, next time in that scenario, my Reaper will do a quick loop of the main or something. Okay? So that's a good way if you're worried about verifying it. Otherwise, factory gets Cyclone ASAP. And then what do we do with that Cyclone? We pick off Overlord, pick off Ravagers one at a time, and then go back to normal build. So it's literally the moment we've got one Cyclone out, if we see it's just a few Ravagers like this, we can go back to our normal build. Now, obviously, if there's like more Roaches rallying across, we see Speedlings as well or something really weird, we can keep building Cyclones, build maybe a second Cyclone or build a tank or something, right? Just to reinforce. But in that scenario there, now we have a much clearer idea. Okay, whenever there's a Ravager or Overlord poke, we get rid of high ground vision. That forces them to come up the ramp if they want to do anything. But obviously they're getting shot by the bunker. So we can say the bunker as well. I think the bunker is a good safety step, right? So, which you did do. But having that would have been much better than the Hellions. The Hellions just do so little damage. So
you think
go back to
leave the barracks on the reactor and then just build a tech lab on the factory, or should I cancel the reactor and
your choice
to rush?
I go with just choose. Say this one sounds best, and just go with it. Because I don't know which one would feel the best for you. And honestly, I think it's just something. As long as you confidently choose one and you do it, and it's just kind of recalling it from your mind. Write it down if you need to, and that'll be awesome. So yeah, we've got a nice reaction list for that one now, and that should be great, dude. So play a few more games with these guys in the chat channel if you want. Thanks so much for the help, gang. We're done with coaching, but play a few more customs if you all down. Always best to get that repetitive, matchups over and over again in a row. So yeah, maybe grind some more games, keep being decisive. The build's looking really, really juicy there, really good. So keep doing the build. And remember, we didn't get a chance to work on you starting to build tanks afterwards. Because we got thrown off that game, but just remember to focus on that as you play a few more maps.
Cool.
Awesome sauce, man. All right, let me know how the sessions go. Hit me up in Twitch chat, and I'm off to Katowice in tomorrow night, so I'll be gone for a couple weeks, but we can set something up in a couple weeks when I get back.
All right, yeah, this was good.
All right, write some notes, save replays, anything that confuses you. As always, try to record it so we can kind of not only go over it in the session, but it'll also just get you in that process of trying to, you know, think about the game and think about where your weaknesses are and what you can focus on and all that good stuff. So, awesome sauce. Good luck. Have fun. Have a good night, man.
All right. You too. Bye.
Good night.